Welcome to another edition of Utopia News WARCAST, May 10th, Year 2. This is the Age of Ancestry, your reporter Wind checking in. All right, so we got an interesting we got some interesting wars to go over here. And before we get started here, I'm just going to post some quick links in the Discord. Normally I do this ahead of time. However, I did not do that today. As I said, we will be looking at some interesting wars today. I'm not going to be covering as many as I usually do in more detail, simply because one of them finished up just as I was pulling the intel. So there's not too much else to go through on that one. And I think we were kind of expecting a comeback by one of the parties involved. So, we're going to see that really shortly, and we're going to dive into that as quickly as possible here. I'm just posting some links for everyone in the community so that they can all follow along. And without further ado, let's get this May 10th podcast started. All right. We're just going to take a quick look at the war chart here. Some of the wars that finished up. The core defeated by Wishmasters. Worms is defeated by Good Game Worms. That's 4-4. Romania defeats Marauding Critters. Now, the war in question I was talking about was the Wishmasters War. But before we get into that, we're just going to take a quick look at the top 10 chart here. So here's Barco. I mean, they're currently in the #1 position for largest kingdom. As you can see, they're continuously growing just a little bit at a time here, followed by Worms after their victory. I mean, it's kind of essential in order to get where they are, recruiting attackers. Again, after their victory, not far behind. Duck says Quack, the original closest contender to Barco, now kind of falling a little bit behind in the races. Random Theme, even lower. Code of Conduct, even after their loss, still doing well. Weekend, still pretty strong. Looks like they got waived, lost a bit of acres there. Have to check. Possibly they might have gone into a war, or they're just waving. I don't see them on the list here. So it looks like they're just doing a little bit of wave play and they got waved down a little bit. Worms, of course, they just finished their war. Reborn of Noah. I don't think we've seen anything from them recently. Their line seems to be pretty steady. I'm sure they've left ceasefire by now. They're probably looking for a new target. Chaos propelled into the top 10 with their victory. So good luck everyone chasing down Barco. Quick look at the honor chart side of things. Again, Good Game Worms walking away with more honor than even Barco has right now. So it'll be interesting if they can maintain that lead. Good Game Worms actually doing pretty well. Worms, lost little bit of honor in that sacrifice here. You can see how the honor chart plays out on the top 10 here, and then we throw Barco into the mix. I mean, significantly more to honor taken from that Worms war. So good job to both sides in that endeavor. Quick look at the current wars to see if there's anything that I've missed before we start this. Looks like we're good to go here. Moving on to the next. All right, so as you can see, I've got some visual aids here for the dates, just to indicate, kind of where we are on the target finder. This is the Worms War. As you can see, Good Games Worms has won this war. Breaking it down, I mean, take a look at the damage here to the provinces. This is the net worth side, so just take a quick look at the land side of things here. Give you some idea of the time frame we're looking at again. So looks like orcs, combination things we're focused on the worm sides here. Undead typically a trap, a good province to be attacked by your enemy. Looking at the damage here, pretty significant on both sides. In terms of net worth. Let's just jump over to the net worth side. Again, this a war where Blue Kingdom was in a stronger position. Worms grew to meet them. They were in a pretty good control, but obviously they weren't 100% ready for the Blue Kingdom's fight back. So quick look at the net worth chart here. I mean, it shows Worms clearly in the lower position. Definitely Blue Kingdom has some net worth above them. Just a few provinces in most cases, but that's all it takes to be above. They got 171 here, and the next one's 180, 184, and we're into 200. Again, one or two provinces just ahead in the net worth brackets. So part of their victory as well, I'm sure, is related to that net worth, that ability to control the net worth. But I mean, look at the damage here on this dwarf, orc, dryad, orc, dwarf. I mean, they're all anyone with 100k net worth damage is in a pretty bad situation. Again, you see here, one or two province lead, and again, that's all it takes. So good job to both sides. I mean, a quick look at that honor chart. We saw it before on the top 10. Clearly a strong victory for the Blue Kingdom there. I believe. Did I have target finder information for this one? No, I didn't have any target finder information for this particular war. That was for actually another one. But good job to both sides. Let's move on to the next war. Just a moment, actually. Maybe I did have some notes for the Worms War. Nope. No, I do not. All right, good job to both kingdoms. Let's move on to the next one. Marauding Critters versus Romania. This is another one that's already over. Again, pull up my little graph here to illustrate roughly what time frame looks like. Land side of things, Romania clearly dominating. I mean, again, you quickly look at these land charts and you see Marauding Critters is significantly down. I mean, they're down 3 provinces as well. So quick look at the net worth side of things. You see month over month, Romania is increasing they're maintaining their lead or increasing their lead. So definitely lots of damage done. I mean, looking at the net worth thing, Romania is definitely in control of the net worth. Significant damage done to Marauding Critters. Every single province is damaged. We're only about half of Romania's is damaged, not to mention, a lot less damage on this side as well. Quick flip over to the honor side of things. Romania walked away with quite a bit of honor from this war. I mean, very nicely done, Romania. Looks like you got about 10k honor out of this war. So excellent work, considering where you started. But excellent work in taking that honor and taking those acres. I hope to see more from you in the future, although this war looks like it was pretty easy for you. So moving on to the next one, we've got our Wishmasters versus Core. Now this is the turnaround here. Wishmasters was able to defeat Core after a strong performance by Core. Again, let's pull up our little visual aid here. Um, it's looked like it was Core's battle going into it. I mean, Wishmasters came in as a smaller kingdom, definitely made a dent in core. I mean, that should give us some indication. And then again, we're looking at these convergence, these areas of convergence here. I don't want to mark up this graph too much until we get to dragons, just because it'll be a little bit harder to clean it up after, just the way I have it set up for now. But these are some pretty strong points where they almost achieve convergence. And again here, and finally on this wave, they break core down enough so that they can achieve convergence and divergence, and eventually core withdraws simply out of damage. Quick look at the land side of things. The core quickly took a lot of damage. I mean, they do have some fatty provinces and one extra province, so that's kind of why I was calling for them to win. But that's not always the case when your opponent comes in with a bit more skill and a bit more planning. In this case, it looks like that would be Wishmasters. I mean, they have definitely the stronger fairy on this side in terms of net worth. Quick look at the net worth change side of things. I mean, core took a little bit of a beating. Not as much as I expected to see. Definitely looks like it may have been a tactical withdrawal from core, knowing full well they couldn't win this war. So good job to Wishmasters for taking on that one. Quick look at the notes that I have for this one. It looks like, Core had been sending Emerald Dragons, and Core had been sending dragons, and then they had also had a dragon on themselves as well, but they slew that pretty quickly. Looks like Wishmasters is still sending dragons. They were still sending on April 21st. They're sending dragons. They sent their last dragon, but and they had slain on April 22nd as well, that dragon. So pretty good stuff in terms of dragons here. I mean, we'll do a quick illustration here. An emerald dragon from core has begun ravaging our lands. So that's April 12th, 210. So April 12th, again, remember the target finder is a little bit off. So Emerald Dragon, right about there on the 12th. Okay, so that's when the Emerald touches down, and on 210. Okay, and just a reminder, Wishmasters is 210, and core is 312. Okay, so they have the Emerald Dragon on them on the 22nd of April there. Um, Sorry, that was on the 12th of April that they had the Emerald Dragon ravaging their lands. So yeah, the 12th of April. Again, pay attention to the chart that I created here, not so much what the dots are showing up as. Again, the chart is about a month behind. So then it looks like Core has begun. They immediately started another Dragon project, sorry, and then on 312. So Core actually slew the dragon that was ravaging their lands on the 20th. So whatever dragon was there, they did slay a dragon right there. So we're kind of seeing, again, we're not sure. Let's maybe say that was an emerald just for argument's sake. Um, because they did put a good amount of net worth into that. I mean, it dropped them down quite significantly. Um, on top of Wishmaster's wave, probably definitely not a good situation for them. But then right away on the 21st, Wishmasters sends their dragon. Again, I'm not sure what that dragon was because I don't have that intel. But let's assume they're throwing emerald dragons back and forth at each other. Because that's kind of the indication that I'm getting. However, the last dragon that they started was a ruby dragon, so it's possible they may have been throwing ruby dragons at them as well. Um, but they send their dragon on the 21st. I mean, it would make sense if it was a ruby dragon um, to close out the war and grab those last bit of acres off those bigger provinces and possibly even slow down the acres being taken at the end by the core when they are withdrawing, so they can't walk away with as much. They still did a pretty good job in their withdrawal, though. So right away uh, on the 22nd and the 21st, they send their dragon to the core, and on the 22nd, uh, they actually slay that emerald dragon. So Wishmasters on the 21st slays that emerald dragon. So we're looking at they kind of get down to about, you know, roughly here. Again, I don't want to mess up the chart too much, but that dragon is slain at that point. So pretty fast slay. I mean, not the quickest one. They definitely let it sit for a while, and you can see some of the damage that it had as they were doing their wave. Um, it's always a hard decision, but maybe not so much for some people. Do you slay the dragon before your wave, especially if it's an emerald, or do you bite the bullet, take the extra losses, and maintain your offense and defensive numbers, and then slay it after the fact, once you've taken your land or acres or credits, uh, whatever it is, but quickly on May 8th, I think Core realized that they just weren't winning the dragon game. They didn't really, seems like they didn't really have the ability to fund another dragon. Wishmasters has already started another dragon pointed at them, a ruby, possibly going after, one of their bigger provinces that hadn't been taken out yet. So definitely a well fought battle by Wishmasters. We hope to see some more of that in the future. Again, both sides pretty comfortable with war. I mean, look at the numbers for the past 33 hours. Shows that Wishmasters is slightly in the lead. They had one conquest, which is kind of whatever, a couple raises, which didn't seem to do very much. The other side had just as few raises. Acres-wise, not a huge disparity. Some provinces to point out, Din of Icefire really got their butt kicked in. Same with Din of some, not in the greatest position. And of course, these three down here, Hardcore Drunk, Rocky Core, and Zap Core, took a fairly good beating as well. I mean, look at the uniques, shows Core kind of somewhat in the lead. I mean, if all their provinces were performing as Black Core and Ice Core, and if these twos were threes, I think we would see a little bit of a different war. Maybe this came down to activity on Core's part, or maybe just the selection of armies that they had. Although, going back to take a quick look at what we've got here, let me just switch over to that. Looks like we got some avians on both sides. I mean, dryads on the core. So possibly that's the reason for their slower marching times. There's no dryads on this side. For all we know, these orcs could be avians even, or these undeads could be avians. You never know. These avians could be orcs. We'd have to pull the intel to be sure. But good job to Wishmasters on that war. Definitely a hard-fought war from their perspective, being down one province. Never an easy war. So I'm trying to delete my lines here without damaging the grid that I've made. Okay, perfect. Great war, everyone. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, what were we doing here? Let's see. No, they killed Lieberson and the Woods, so we'll just close that one out. That looks like a junk screen. This war's been going on for about 7 days now, about 181 hours. It looks like both kingdoms are kind of growing at this point. Not sure what the plan is for both sides. Definitely looks to be a stalemate war, neither side willing to give up or surrender. I'm just going to take a quick look at my notes here from the monarch that I spoke to earlier regarding this war. Let's take a look here. Zero rituals currently. Both sides are working on topazes, um, or they have topazes on them, I believe. Um, let's see. Yeah, I believe they are on both sides right now. We have some other information regarding the dragons. Apparently, there's been 6 dragons in total, 4 emeralds and 2 topazes. And interestingly enough, 2 of the emeralds flew away. So it looks like both sides were sitting on emeralds for some time during this war. So that probably accounts for the steady drop, and now we're starting to see the growth here on the back end of the war because those emeralds are no longer in play. And certainly with topazes in play, it's a little bit of a different situation to deal with. Wait for the graph to load there. Oops, looks like we doubled up by accident. Okay, so quickly looking at the land side of things. Definitely Woods in not so great a position with those bottom 2 attackers, especially that Oak Grove Dryad. He's definitely in bad shape. Um, not a good situation for anyone. Definitely looks, they've got 2 provinces down right now, so that would explain the strange dip we were seeing the other day. I believe they mentioned that to me as well. Change-wise, it looks like Woods has taken some significant damage recently, possibly on the back of Red Kingdom's last wave. Quick look at the honor side of things. Let's see where the net worth brackets are. Sorry. Woods appears to be in control of this war. I mean, they've got a strong net worth differential at the top end. This fairy and these 2 halflings should be pretty bulletproof right now. I mean, looking at the other side, it's all fairies. So this is possibly a TM war. I mean, their cores have smashed out. But looking at net worth per acre, it looks like Woods is still a little bit fatty. So, both sides are in not the greatest shape, but Woods is still in a great position to take this one. I'm not sure what the goal is here, but definitely it's working out for them because they are gaining honor and I believe land as well. So Red Kingdom, even though they started, below this line or just at this line, down here in most points, honor and land, they're still growing from this war. So this might just be a calculated war that could end perfectly to take them into the next weekend. So we're not sure when this war could end. But it definitely, both sides are growing right now. So best of luck to both sides. Woods, you got to figure out how to finish off this war. Definitely something you'll need to work on in the future, facing some of the top end kingdoms. I mean, it's great to make it to min time, but you really need to know how to close out the war so you don't get stuck in these week-long wars. All right, good luck to both sides, and we'll see how that one works out. We got Spirit Drinks here versus Barroom Brawl. Let's take a quick look. Again, this one, Barroom Brawl, still walking away with this one. Not sure what's happening. Looks like they're just having a wave right now. Spirit Drink's getting their teeth kicked in here. And again, they are two provinces short. A little bit of a dip going on here. This is definitely Barroom's ball. I mean, sorry, Barroom Brawl is definitely taking this war. I mean, they would have to have some serious missteps at this time to lose this one. So good work, Barroom Brawl, maintaining your position and forcing the enemy, again below this line here. I mean, you got to show your dominance for the enemy to withdraw. If they don't feel like you deserve the victory, they're not going to withdraw. But this was definitely a closer fight earlier on. I mean, but we're at 133 hours, and it doesn't seem like Spirit's going to be able to rebound. So good job on that one, Barroom. It's only a matter of time. Of course, my lovely Utopia News province that does absolutely nothing. Oh, look, they're starving. Oh, well, what a shame. Plenty of peasants. I mean, I've done this before. I've let my people starve, and the rebirth rate is so fast. I don't even notice. That I'm losing peasants. And what does it matter? I'm not doing anything. So let's take a look here at the next war. This is our war chart. These are some of the wars we're going to look at closer, a little bit closer. We've got Having a Beer versus Pillow Talk. Pillow Talk had an interesting thing happen to them, I believe, when they started out their war. They had an intra that took out their top offense. That was fairly devastating for them. And then, of course, those two provinces, the top offense and the one that did the intra, subsequently got chained. So it was definitely not the best situation for them going into this war. However, it seems like, regardless of that fact, they are still doing extremely well. Land war, I mean, it's pretty back and forth. That could be anyone's war at this time. Pillow Talk looks like they're, maintaining their struggle for the top, but they haven't quite achieved divergence 100% yet. But there's some nice convergence signs there. Quick look at the chart here. We'll go over to the land side of things. I do have some more information about this war, but quickly looking at the land, I mean, we got bigger provinces on Pillow Talk's side, bigger swings in acre losses on Having a Beer side, and lesser swings on Pillow Talk's. Good indications for them all around. I mean, looking at the Seraphim formatter quickly, you can see that 3-3 has made significantly more attacks. I mean, that definitely contributes to their lead right now. I mean, they had some good massacres, probably for some TM control as well. So good on them for taking out those threats early. Again, I look at the attacks here. You got 20, 40. Those pretty significant chain there over 1,200 acres compared to 300 acres. I mean, this is a no-brainer. They should easily walk away with this one. I mean, pretty solid uniques performances from both sides. A good amount of aid packets being sent in this war. Let's take a look. Yeah, the war is only about 63 hours old, so it's not too bad. Still a good fight to have here. Taking a look at things, looks like both sides have no dragons. Let's go ahead and illustrate this one quickly. So Pillow Talk is 3-3, and there's no dragons. They've got no ritual. Because it was abolished. So last time we looked, they had a Godspeed at about 110%, but that was abolished on a certain date, which I'm going to mention in just a moment. Having a Beer, same situation. Here we go. They were 4-9, no ritual. And again, it was abolished. Same situation, at about 102% effectiveness when we last checked their onslaught ritual, but they lost that quickly. Looking at the news side of things, it looks like with regards to the ritual, both of them lost their rituals on the 20th and the 21st. So 4-9, and that was April 21st. So on this thing, it's March 21st. So about there. Um, you know, they both they both get their rituals abolished. Okay. So that's pretty significant for both sides. I mean, those were overpowered rituals. They were definitely overcast, and they took, that not having those definitely hurts. But definitely some interesting movements going on from the enemy right now. having a beer. That is, some updates here. I mean, there were some dragons earlier in that we looked at from the last podcast. We're gonna go over some of the new ones that have appeared. But also, I just want to mention that on April 17th, 3-3, so Pillow Talk actually managed to start another ritual, whereas the enemy did not. So about there where that little hump in the on the Blue Kingdom's lands side here. This is pretty much right when they started Bene ritual. So that was 3-3, started a benediction ritual right before the ritual was abolished, probably seeing the abolished ritual going through and the ops, pressured them to start a new ritual. Whether they have the runes to do it or not remains to be seen. I'm thinking so. I mean, they've got a lot of dwarfs here, and we're not sure what their other thing is. So, these dwarfs aren't exactly small either. So, these big 1,000-acre dwarfs could probably easily, 800 to 1,000-acre dwarfs could probably easily solo the ritual. I mean, with their extra production. So definitely ritual game seems to be on their side as well. And again, that production, those big dwarfs, tells me that maybe 3-3 might have the econ game on their side as well. And likely their dragon is going to come out. So it looks like on May 2nd, um, the Dragon Woof, which I believe was a Topaz. Oh no, doesn't look like it. I'm not sure actually what that dragon was. Um, yeah, because there must have been another dragon that was slain or started, or I just missed it for some reason. I'm not sure how I missed that, but it looks like it was Topaz Dragon was originally, last I checked, was originally aimed at Pillow Talk. I'm unsure if they actually completed that, but it looks like Pillow Talk completed their dragon, which ended up going towards 4-9. We're not 100% sure what it was at this time, but on the second here, they had their dragon go out. So it's about here. And that ended up on 4-9. I mean, they don't have the dragon now, so they definitely slayed it already. Um, Same tick, that dragon is slain. And then looks like Pillow Talk was doing some maneuvers on the second as well. They started a Topaz Dragon and then canceled it and renamed it and called it something else. Started another Topaz Dragon. Um, and that all happened right here. So Topaz started by 3-3. Okay, so there's lots of good action going on in here. I mean, dragons definitely played a role in this war. Um, again, I'm feeling like Pillow Talk definitely has the lead here because of their big dwarfs. They have that econ, they have the runes available. They got that ritual that they're recasting. Just a note that I pulled the SOT on one of the orcs here, I believe number 25. He's actually an orc undead, which makes sense because they're probably using plague to some extent to help them out. I wouldn't be surprised if all these orcs are undead and these undeads are orcs, and these dryads might be orcs as well. Halflings, fairies, and dwarfs. I'm thinking maybe the dwarfs could potentially be hybrids, but I don't think so. They're in a good position though to generate some good econ, but as you can see by the numbers here, their dwarfs have taken pretty good hits versus the numerous dwarfs on this side that seem to be in still pretty good condition. So it definitely looks like Pillow Talk is doing extremely well in their strategy in this war, definitely taking off on the honor side of things, which we know is pretty important when it comes to the outcome of the war because it kind of determines the ops that are going down. It can play a part in the armies that are marching and the targets that are being attacked. But it's all circumstantial. So good job to Pillow Talk for dominating your opponent there. Having a beer, it looks like you may have had one too many beers. Pillow Talk seems to be taking this one. So I don't believe I have any other notes on that one. Good luck to both sides. Again, we looked at the the Seraphim here. Um, Pillow Talk doing extremely well. So good job there. Let's move on to the next war. We got our Wargpakket versus Message for War. Quick look at the land side of things. See how this war is shaping up. Good tight war. I mean, that's what I want to see. Get my little overlay in there so we can see the dates. Quick look at the land side of things. Both kingdoms with one province sub 200. Definitely looks like Wargpakket has one province down almost in comparison. However, upon closer inspection, it seems like Wargpakket, aside from that one orc and this avian, are actually doing pretty well, especially for being one province down. I mean, they definitely have acres up, almost, province for province on the enemy here. Looks like a little bit at the top is taking a bit more of a beating, but definitely they've got a pretty tight formation. So excellent work by Wargpakket on that one. I mean, a quick look at the change. Doesn't change the move around too much, but definitely more damage happening on Message for War side, especially considering they have one less province. Wargpakket just looks like they may have had a wave, so they've gained a little bit of land. However, it doesn't look like they've achieved enough divergence to surpass them on land anyway, but most of the time that's not the key in war anyway. Looking here, they've really pulled it back on Wargpakket. I mean, this looked like Wargpakket was really in control here when we look at the net worth side of things. But you can see that one province really makes a difference. Again, looking at the numbers, we've got a few that are approaching 200,000. But again, Wargpakket seems to be, in control of the top end of the net worth bracket, except for this one elf here. Operating systems could be a problem for them. It doesn't look like they're really able to do too much damage to that province, as he's sitting on a pretty hefty net worth per acre there. Quick look at the change damage on the net worth side. Looks like Wargpakket definitely sustaining a bit more damage there on their orcs and avians. Those builds can generally kill themselves out pretty easily, but good combination, especially if those avians are orcs and those orcs are avians. Definitely one I support 100%. But definitely looks like Wargpakket is kind of losing their grasp a little bit on this war. Message for War, pulling off a strong game. They're definitely pulling away in honor. Unfortunately in this case, I think Wargpakket suffered a few times from just being down that one extra province and going up against that enemy that plays a little bit of a later game. And that comes to bite Wargpakket in the butt in the end. Looking at the last 33 hours, definitely more attacks happening by the enemy here. As you can see, 217, and Wargpakket just had their wave. So they're down over 1,000 acres and down over 50 attacks as well. So not a good sign for Wargpakket. I mean, looking at their bottom here, they're almost approaching 30 in terms of attacks on their provinces. The rest are kind of, 10 to 20 range. You've got a couple of provinces here that took about 20 or 30 attacks, but most of them in general are in the low teens or single digits. Um, so definitely not good news for Wargpakket. And again, remember they just had their wave, so the enemy does actually have provinces that are slightly ahead. Not too many wave packets going back and forth in terms of aid. Quick look at the notes here for the Wargpakket war. Um, so message for war is 6-1. They've got no dragon and they've got an expert ritual. So 6-1, no dragon, X-Pro at 88.3%, and Wargpakket, no dragon on them, 7-1, and they've got a stalwart with 90.4. Stalwart that has 90.4%. Okay, and just to be noted, they've got an X Pro on backup right now that they're working on, well as no backup ritual for 6-1 there. As I said, no dragons have been sighted on either side. I mean, we looked at the dragon play earlier. I believe both sides had slain their dragons, if I remember correctly. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I mean, it looks like slain. They began it. So the last thing was complete our dragon. And they slew their dragon. So at some point, Vargpakket slew their dragon as well. But it looks like on the surprise. So surprise was a Topaz Dragon um, that was sent to Vargpakket. That was the last dragon I think that we noted on the map. So let's go to our topaz, or sorry, rather our yellow color here, just so we can indicate the Topaz Dragon on the 22nd of April, which attacks Vargpakket. So about here, or was it right here? No, right here on the second rung. Okay, so about here, we got a Topaz on 7-11. Okay. And it looks like our kingdom has begun Topaz. So they started another Topaz right away. So they had a backup Topaz going right away on that one. Let's go back to my notes here. Okay, and so it looks like on the 23rd, Vargpakket slays that dragon as well. So pretty much, one tick later, this dragon is slain. Okay, and that new topaz has already been started. So Vargpakket didn't wait very long to do that. And then, on the 9th, this is actually where Vargpakket started their ritual for expropriation. Okay, so they started their expro on that tick as well. But it doesn't look like, you know, Vargpakket had sent another dragon at um, at 611. In fact, the last time 611, sorry, 61 sent their dragon. Oh, I keep calling him 611 and 711. But it looks like the last time Vargpakket sent a dragon was on March 7th. And then they subsequently slew that on March 16th was the last one. So that's pretty far back. I mean, we're looking far back there. Looks like Vargpakket's been slaying dragons though, because on the 3rd of April, um, they had another dragon. Looks like a Sapphire Dragon was aimed at them on March 10th. So again, we were looking at this war last time, but on March 10th, which is about oops, sorry, so about here, they had that Sapphire. And so that was the last dragon that they had pointed at 6-1. Oops, just gonna clear that out. Yeah, so Sapphire started at 6-1. That was March 7th. When did they actually send that? 6-1 slayed the Ruby Dragon that that Vargpakket sent on March 7th as well. So on March 7th, they actually started. They actually sent a Ruby Dragon and started that Sapphire. So they've been. I mean, it's not like Vargpakket hasn't been sending dragons or anything like that. I mean, they definitely have been sending them. It's just they haven't really been sending them recently. It seemed like there was a lot more dragon action from them in the beginning, but that dragon that was sent was slain pretty quickly, um, and they respond in turn with dragons as well. That ruby dragon made it until March 16th, so that's actually a pretty long time to wait for that dragon, especially considering, oops, it's more like, especially considering it was a ruby. Around here, they're kind of, you know, they slay that dragon. So again, we did look at this in a previous podcast, but again, they have that Sapphire Dragon, um, and it looks like they started on April 3rd. There was a dragon as well coming from 6-1. So 6-1. What was their dragon before that? Uh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, they completed their dragon. But Workpacket slew it pretty quickly, so they did a good job there. April 7th, right around here, the dragon was sent, and then on sorry on April 3rd, the dragon was sent. So about here, right around here. It looks like my line's a little bit off on March here. I think my stuff got shifted over a tiny bit. Yeah, definitely moving back and forth between charts. It seems to have shifted my dates a tiny bit, but we can still work with this. They're off a tiny bit. I'll have to adjust them for the next one. But anyway, you can see the picture here. I mean, Workpacket was definitely in charge of dragons somewhat in the beginning, but then somehow they lost dragons, the control of the dragon situation closer to the end of the war, and they seem to be focusing on their ritual. So good play there. I apologize for the messiness of the dragon information here and the chart. I'm going to look for a better solution for this in the future. Will definitely be a little bit neater the next time around. So let's get this thing cleaned up a little bit. It's definitely going to add a little bit more time, not having to, considering I'm worried about dusting off my chart, which appears to be slightly incorrect on this one right now as it is anyway. So I'll have to figure out something for that to see what I can do to make that work a little bit better. There we go. You know what? Actually, I think I just deleted some of my lines. Let's just clean sweep this one. All right. So good job to both sides here. I mean, quick look at things. Definitely looks like this war is slipping away from Wargpacket a little bit. Still a strong land battle, net worth wise. Message for War is coming back and achieving that convergence, which could be divergence. And again, they're stronger on the honor side. But again, down one province on Wargpacket. But they're fighting a great war. So good job, Wargpacket. I mean, keep up the good fight. Let's move on to the next kingdom. Yeah, so I mean, again, the data here for Warpacket, I mean, doesn't look so great in terms of attacks and uniques. Again, them just having their wave, not a good situation. Moving on to the next war. This is the last one that we're looking at. This is the Wood versus Jerry and the Unnamed Kingdom. A quick look at the land side of things. Looks like, both sides are doing pretty well. However, on this last wave here, no one really achieves convergence. So not sure what happened there. They're approaching min time. Definitely a solid fight on both sides. But Blue Kingdom seems to be in control of this one at the moment. Quick look at the honor will tell us, definitely Blue Kingdom's taking control of this one. Looks like we got a bunch of dryads versus, non-dryads. So possibly some slower marching armies here on the wood side, which is probably, accounting for part of the lead that Jerry and the Unnamed Kingdom have. I mean, quick look at the land side of things here again. We'll sort this by land. Both sides taking pretty significant damage to their attackers. Kind of mixed on this side, but definitely looks like, both sides are definitely taking some good beatings. Total change, however, two provinces at 500, one at 400. Definitely looks like Jerry's taking some good damage, land damage anyway, network damage. We'll check out that right now. Network damage thing, both sides are descending a little bit. Possibly some dragons in play here. We'll look at that shortly. But this province got hurt significantly. They must have released troops or something like that. I mean, this avian definitely got hurt quite a bit. Over the course of this war. So even though it seems like Jerry's still maintaining a position, it's coming at a cost for them. Look at the honor side of things. I mean, again, it looks like they're somewhat in control of this war, but whether they can close it out is the real question. Seems to be an issue a lot of kingdoms have right now. I mean, looking at the attack side of things, almost 1,000 differential between 410 and 77. We're going to go back here just to make a note here. Um, just as to what we're dealing with. So Jerry's 410, and they've got an Emerald Dragon on them. So let's get on there. So 410, they've got an Emerald, and they've got a Godspeed, which is at 96.9%. And from what I can tell, they've been sitting on this Emerald Dragon since at least April 1st, because that's as far back as I could pull the news. I didn't see any notice of that dragon going anywhere. While the wood is 7/7, and they have a ruby on them, and their ritual is a Godspeed as well at 100%. There we are. And again, they have that ruby dragon on them. That ruby dragon has been there since April 16th when the enemy sent it. So that's what we got there. I mean, a quick look at the charts here to try and decipher what the dates are again. Looks like January or Feb 1st is right here, roughly. Yeah, so Feb 1st. Let's find. Oh, sorry, that's actually March 1st. Okay, and we'll find April right down here. Yeah, that's close enough. Yeah, this is just for illustration purposes. Let's move that out of the way. April, let's find May. April, May. So right there. A little bit ahead of that line. So somewhere around there. There we are. Okay, so that's May 1. Okay. And that would put February, all the way back here. So pretty much, right here is Feb 1st. Again, this is one of the more recent wars, only have 40 hours. Still got some time until mid-time. I hope this illustration helps a little bit to give you some idea of what the time looks like when it's passing. Again, we're looking at KD net worth here. Quick look at the news side of things. Not too much going on here. Both are sitting on their dragons. It looks like only one kingdom has another dragon set up. It looks like there's a Topaz Dragon pointed at 7/7, and that was May 7th, that dragon. So May 7th, about here. The enemy 410. So Topaz at 7/7. And again, as I said, on the 16th, um, that's when they started seeing that dragon. So where's April 16th? It's about right here. Pretty much right here is when that ruby shows up. But again, as I said, 410 has been sitting on their emerald for some time now. I mean, as far as April 1st, from what I can tell. So, going back to color here, April 1st would be March 1st. Or sorry, April 1st would be April 1st now that I've marked it, but again, March 1st here. So, they've been sitting on this dragon. Plus time, because I'm not sure how long that emerald's been there. Very well could have been there since the beginning of the war. I mean, if that's the case, we can take a look at the net worth here to kind of figure out if what how that impacted them. So it seems like even though they sat on that dragon, it might have been a good decision for them to maintain their military. But if they've been sitting on it since the beginning of the war, that could easily explain their significant drops here. Um, the staircase pattern that's forming since they've had that emerald. Just the extra damage from their waves plus the enemy waves alone is causing what you're seeing there. Um, that's pretty much all we have for dragon information because there isn't too many dragons going on in this war. One thing I will say though, however, is that we're just going to look at the race breakdowns here quickly. So on 410, number 23, there's a gnome. It's actually a dwarf, and that dwarf gnome is, sorry, the dwarf gnome is on 7/7, and he's actually, um, wait, hold on a second, gnome dwarf, yeah, so on 7/7 has that gnome dwarf. It's very likely that the other gnome is a dwarf as well, but they're sitting on about 100k offense and about 80k defense, whereas these dryads on the 410 side are likely. Sorry, hold on a second. Yeah, so all the dryads on the 410 side are likely dwarves as well. Their dryad dwarf core looks like they're sitting on about 143k offense to about 68k defense, so it's about 2-to-1 ratio on their dryad core. If they all are a dwarf dryad, I feel like that's their combination because they look pretty clear cut. Dryads and fairies. Um, all support spellcasters definitely benefit there to having them. Whether it's helping them out in this war remains to be seen. Again, big differential on the attacks. We got about 50 more attacks, 60 more attacks coming out of the enemy. So definitely hurting them on that. Again, only about 1,000 acres difference. A few massacres on both sides. Nothing huge. Definitely hurt a little bit. But you can tell 410 is definitely taking the acres. 7/7 taking the damage. Um, looking at the low end attackers here, 23 on their lowest, 20 and 26 on these two. 7/7 looks like they're not in the greatest position. Again, more uniques on 410 as well. That further reinforces the thought that it's interesting that these dryads are moving at a higher unique rate based on the intel that I've pulled, as possibly they have armies marching at different times, so it's impacting those uniques. But definitely, if someone wants to reach out to clarify that, be more than happy to talk about that. Um, because it's interesting to see that the Dryad Kingdom actually has more uniques, but again, that can be affected by when your armies are marching. So if they have split armies, it's easy to rack up some additional uniques that might not actually be real. So good job to both sides. I don't have any more notes on this war. Again, not too many dragons. If you like dragons, the Vargpakket war definitely had a lot of dragons. I mean, you can see them in the previous video. And I try my best to illustrate them. Uh, by including the last dragon as well on this most recent review of the Warpacket War. So dragons, again, not very prevalent in this war, but as you can see, both sides fighting extremely well. However, one side just has clear advantage going into the war, um, and they seem to be maintaining it. So good luck to both sides. We'll see how this one plays out. So that's it for the wars that we're looking at in more detail. Just a quick look at the wars that haven't quite reached min time yet, that we haven't looked closer at. I didn't pull this one because I believe Syndicate, they just look like they're clearly dominating this war. I just don't see Myths and Legends pulling back. Again, short 2 provinces. So, good job maintaining your lead there, Syndicate. Definitely going to take some honor and land away from this one. Definitely a good play for you. I mean, you attacked a kingdom with almost 10k honor above you, and you're going to walk away with a significant amount. So definitely be careful, Blue Kingdom. Red Kingdom's in there to grab honor and land. So watch yourselves. Let's move on to the next one. Schizophrenic Cocktail versus StarCraft. I mean, I always kind of favor StarCraft to win. They're a more well-known kingdom. They've been around for some time. Um, and again, it looks like they're doing pretty well here. A quick look at the land side of things at the bottom three. Got 259 to 240, 443, 4, these are almost equal at the bottom. However, there are significantly more provinces over 1,000. Got a couple dwarfs and then fairies here, so they're just going to grow out of control versus the one fairy that's on the opposite side. I mean, definitely looks like StarCraft's going to walk away with this one. We don't have to look at that too much more. However, this is interesting here. Schizophrenic, pulling back honor as best they can, but it doesn't seem to be enough to achieve any divergence. So StarCraft quickly pulls it back. It definitely looks like it's StarCraft's war to lose, but it's probably not going to go that way. They generally are pretty good at wrapping up the war. If Schizophrenic Cocktail can pull this one back based on this honor, I mean, it seems like they might have something up their sleeve, but time will tell. So let's wait till the next Warcast and find out. Let's check on to the next one. We got the Faceless War versus Relapse. Take a quick look at the land here. I mean, Faceless definitely looks like they're getting pounded. Their faces pounded off. I mean, look at the land is just flying out the door. Same with the net worth. I mean, some big drops there. They are 5 provinces down. I mean, we don't need to look into this one too much more. This is a total farm out. But good job for Relapse to making it a really powerful one. So good job there. But definitely Faceless took a war that they weren't able to win on this one. Let's move on to the next one. Looks like we got one province short on rejected, or one extra province on rejected crayons. I mean, it looked like a pretty tight war before. They were definitely having some trouble pulling away, but this last wave here shows some pretty strong data, signifying that crayons is picked up their pants here, and they are probably going to perform a little bit better compared to the start here. I mean, they managed to achieve convergence and some amount of divergence, but the enemy still was able to pull that back there. Again, we're just looking at the net worth there. Let's switch back to land for a second and examine the bottom three and the top three on both sides. We got 3 provinces, both sides under 300, followed up by a province at 300 and 400 respectively. And again, 500 on this side. Crayon seems to just be doing a little bit better job managing their provinces here. I mean, look at the top here. They have this one guy almost set to 2,000 acres of 1,500 acres. I mean, these big orcs, dwarfs, orcs. I mean, these guys can all probably just sit home and they're probably relatively safe. Significant damage taken on these orcs on the enemy side. They definitely don't like that. But again, quite a bit of damage on rejected Crown's side as well. So that explains, the hard-fought battle. I mean, both sides were fighting pretty hard. Looking at the net worth side of things, I mean, they got a province that reset as well, or a new province. So technically, they're down. They're actually up 2 on rejected Crayon's side, basically. So I do expect them to take this war, but Blue Kingdom is giving them one heck of a fight. So don't give up just yet, Crayons. I mean, definitely looks like this war is in your grasp. However, they do have some high net worth fairies and dwarfs on the enemy side here that you're going to have to deal with if you want to secure your victory in this war. This war again is not even, it's about halfway to min time. So good luck to both sides. And again, shout out to Rejected Crayons, one of my former kingdoms.
Always fun, guys. Looks like Pirates is back to war again, this time with Monster Tomatoes. Monster Tomatoes down one province, Pirates in the lead. Let's see if they're doing the same thing that they did to the Tom Kingdom. Looks like Monster Tomatoes giving them a good run for land. Looking at the net worth side of things, Pirates look like they pulled up, managed to outgrow and then go into this war out of their ceasefire. It looks like this is net worth growing, probably leaving a ceasefire. So they ended up actually being bigger. As you can see, Monster Tomatoes took a significant chunk of that away, though. So definitely some concern for Pirates as to where this war is going to go for min time. But it looks like they're still maintaining a bit of a lead. However, this honor loss is not necessarily good for them either. Um, just looking at the dates here to see, um, if this honor loss might be from, or what might it be from. Definitely not taken by the enemy. Maybe they had a few waves. Um, it's hard to say looking at this honor chart because it does go back to June 24th of year one. So, I mean, they did win their last war. So the fact that it went down means they must have gotten waived or they lost something in the meantime there. Hard to say what happened there. Definitely Pirates, if you want to reach out and share that, what happened to your honor, how you lost about 4K before you went into this war. Definitely like to know what happened to that honor, or who took it from you. I mean, that's quite a bit of honor to disappear and out of war. Again, looking at the land side of things, one province, they're about equal provinces, so Pirates you know, um, 24 versus 24 here with Monster Tomatoes with that one province in protection. But definitely, that's good for them to have that province in protection. Definitely some bigger provinces on the monster side, though. I mean, will that win them the war? I'm not sure. But again, time will tell. Quick look at the net worth side of things. Um, let's see if my little chart thing. Well, we don't really need the chart right now because this war is only 11 hours old. Um, but there's not too much going on here at the moment. Looks like you know Pirates may have just had their wave. Explain why Tomatoes has gone down a little bit. Again, this is probably a war that if they achieve more convergences on the net worth chart, this will definitely be a one that I look at tomorrow. But if they maintain this current trend, we'll just briefly go over it because it seems like Pirates should have this firmly in their grasp. So good luck to both sides. Let's take a quick look at the last war, Sons of Anarchy versus How Come We Can't Fund Dragons. This war started about 6 hours ago. Both sides looking like they're doing pretty evenly on the land side. It's equal provinces. Definitely looks like a strong chain open on Sons of Anarchy, so not a good sign for them. They're getting a couple provinces almost disabled, not quite disabled, but I mean, look at this net worth breakout. That's pretty significant, 700, almost 450. I mean, that's pretty significant chaining there. So good job by the Blue Kingdom on that one. They're definitely going to feel that versus the 67 that they lost here. So maybe they're waiting to do their wave, or their armies are still coming back from the hostile. Um, who knows? But definitely looks like Blue Kingdom's in a good position right now versus the Red Kingdom. Quick look at the honor side of things, see where they're both at. Definitely Blue has the honor, to lose. So I think they're probably the winning pick in this war. Definitely looks like Sons of Anarchy is going to have a tough war ahead of them. Just quickly looking at the race breakdown, however, Sons of Anarchy has a lot of Dark Elves, Dryads, Dwarfs, Fairies, and some Orcs versus mostly Dwarfs. I mean, that's a pretty dangerous combination if they know how to use these Dwarfs properly. Signing off. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Back again tomorrow, hopefully at a regularly scheduled time. I did start a little bit later today, but tomorrow we should be starting closer to our regular time around the 8th or 9th of the Utopian day, or month rather. So thank you so much for watching tonight, everyone, and have a great